Welcome to the Irish National History Competition Finals and Awards Ceremony. I'm Dr. Paul Flynn and I am the Programme Director of Breaking the Seal and the Irish National History Competition. We have this year had an exceptionally high standard of entrants from a variety of different locations, particularly in the west of Ireland. And we are excited about the quality of the presentations. We are excited about the enthusiasm of young people to engage with history. And we are very excited about what participating in this competition actually means to these young people. What you will see in the videos that follow are a very, very brief selection of some very large number of video submissions that we received. It was next to near impossible to select which ones should be presented, which ones should go through to the finals, which ones would win even. And just even in that, I have with me, I have the actual finalists, winners. I have the first, I have the second, I have the third here. I don't know what's in them. They're sealed. I have no idea what's in them. We'll find out later on. But we're very excited about the enthusiasm that young people have put into, that young people have demonstrated as part of their participation in this project. Breaking the Seal was originally founded in 2015 and 2016, and as part of Ustory Network. The Ustory Network has expanded out to almost 350 to 400 participants from a modest starting of 26. And so it's obvious that there is an enthusiasm for history in Ireland. There is an enthusiasm within the 13 to 18-year-old bracket in Ireland as well. And the quality of the submissions and the dedication of students when they, during this period of COVID-19, didn't really have to engage. I mean, they really showed what history means to them. And you're going to see that in the videos that follow. So what we're going to have today in this finals, unusual finals for us, because normally we do all of this face-to-face, this unusual award ceremony and presentation of finalists. You're going to see a very brief selection of videos that have been submitted by students. Some are PowerPoint presentations with very interesting voiceovers, and some you have students on camera, and this was left open to students to decide how they want to submit. Towards the end of the submission, you'll hear from the programme coordinator, Joseph Narinda. You'll hear from some of the judges, Luke O'Donnell and Stephen Darmian. And then I'll come back and I'll hopefully be able to open some of these envelopes that have third place, the second place, and the first place awardees. Of course, all finalists, we are very proud of all our finalists, and we want to congratulate all of them. We want to assure them that it was not easy to disentangle who would go forward to the finals initially, and then who would be the winner, outright winner, and runners-up of an Irish National History Competition. But it was difficult, but we do have to make decisions. And we have a panel of judges who I'll introduce later on. So for the next maybe 20 minutes, perhaps, just enjoy the presentations and we'll speak to you in a couple of minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy McConnell-Canny and I'm from Dunmore Community School. My research topic is called End of Term, End of Time, which relates to the Aberfan disaster. For those of you who don't know what the Aberfan disaster was, it was a coal mining disaster that struck on the 21st of October 1966. On this morning of the disaster, it was foggy, and on the days leading up to it, there had been heavy rainfall. Children went to school filled with excitement, knowing it was the last day of school before midterm. What was about to happen was to change the thoughts of a small village forever. At 9:15, the colliery spoil tipped, sliding downhill as a slurry, killing 116 children and 28 adults as it engulfed the local junior school and other buildings. I chose this project after watching a Netflix series called The Crown, which is about the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. I found watching the episode on the Aberfan disaster very emotional, and with Break the Seal starting, I wanted to voice and recognise the survivors' perspective. Coal was very important in the Industrial Revolution of the 19th and 20th centuries, when it was primarily used to power steam engines, heat buildings, and generate electricity. The coal industry also brought a tremendous amount of employment to the people of Aberfan. The coal mine had around 2,000 plus employees. This provided a quarter of the population with jobs. This young boy here we see pictured is Jeff Edwards. He was 8 years old at the time of the disaster. Jeff questioned the teacher about the loud noise and was reassured that it was only thunder, only to wake up with material all around him. He was pulled out of the rubble after rescuers noticed his distinctive white hair. Due to this disaster, Jeff had to move from Aberfan and live with his gran, as he feared the tip coming down again, and he also suffered with post-traumatic stress disorder. Let us never forget this avoidable disaster. 300,000 cubic yards of coal sludge buried a Welsh primary school and 19 houses in Aberfan. Hundreds of people tried to dig the school children, teachers, and people who lived nearby from out of the wreckage, but 144 people died. I used articles from BBC to research my project, which helped me to better my research skills and helped me to critically analyse information. Always remember the lessons of history. It allows us to understand our past, which in turn allows us to understand our present. History is part of us all. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation.
Hello everybody, my name is Laura Turner from Dunmore Community School. The title of my RSR is A Life Like None Other, the nun being Sister Mary Michaeline Kane from Cincinnati, Ohio, who took her name from her mother Mary from Garfrons and her father Michael from Knocknagur, who was an uncle of my grandmother Kathleen. Like many of you, I have a great interest in local history and learning about my ancestors. It's a subject that usually crops up when talking to my two grandmothers. On one such visit to Nana Kathleen in Milltown, I heard about Sister Mary Michaeline and her extraordinary life in the USA, the people whose lives she impacted, and the legacy that she left after she died. Her story starts over a century ago, at the end of World War I, and as her life evolves, her story becomes almost like a history lesson on the 20th century. As a young nun, she experiences life during the Second World War, but it was her fascination with sport and baseball in particular that made her unique. It's a story of immigration, education and love, the love of her people and her place. My research began by trawling through the vast amount of archive material on Sister Mary Michaeline, preserved by my Nana Kathleen for over 60 years. These primary sources included handwritten letters, newspaper articles and photographs, all documenting important milestones throughout her life and career. Sister Mary Michaeline loved to write, so there was no shortage of content for this project. In addition to this, I found several sources online which painted an even more compelling picture of the impact this daughter of Irish immigrants had on the lives of the many thousands of students she encountered during her long career as a school librarian. The Macaulay High School and Cincinnati Enquirer websites were both valuable reference points for this project. But the single biggest source of information was from Sister Mary Michaeline herself, her written words and the many stories she told her cousin Kathleen, my grandmother, on her many visits to Ireland. This was a lady who spent 67 years working in education, so she clearly loved her work, and it was apparent that her students and colleagues loved her. Her other passion was the Cincinnati Reds professional baseball team, and she became almost as famous as the players themselves when she attended home games. She even threw the first ceremonial pitch at a Reds game in 2007 when she was 88 years of age, an honour only bestowed upon celebrities. The positive impact she left on the school was acknowledged on her retirement when the high school library was named in her honour. She really did have a life like none other. Thank you.
Tíochaoib, is mis éanú crainn, agus níomh tomach an náirt faoin staidir taide ar an meile hain cumartas an seala bhise. Scíb mé an taiste faoi leachtarí sinú. Inis, tá is sagan I look céir a hála sinú, ach muna bhfuil túir mé míú gear an nachtar. A fiú sé de Ibra 1986 sé, Pripyat in Ukraine, fléasc in Ibra cá. Bhí tástáil sábhachta díreach tar éis a bheith dintach go, ach mu de bhár locht deara bhí le RBMK reactors fléasc sé. Tar éis an fléasc, tháinig an taonnta Sóivéadach le chéile trí cruinniú acu leis an KGB agus Mikhail Gorbachev, a bhí mar uachtarán an taonnta Sóivéadach ag an am. Is ag a cruinniú seo, a tháinig sé tús leis an smaoinemh saidirí úsait chun an gláán na suas íonna tar éis an tubaiste. Lí siad leachtarí ahrú. Bhí postan ag na leachtarí nós glant na bóthraí fergnamh agus tithe chun fáil ré leis an rádíocht, gus duna cínte go raibh chula duine an Chris isteach. Níl mór an ólas faoin na leachtarí, ach monach an obair cuaras contartach ar an siad bheith seansán nach meach muid an seo inniuh. Tá sagan go sé crackáilte ag rá go hábhan na leachtarí muid ach a cás amháin tá sé sin aníir, agus is scéal simú cachas muid a lu go chluisteán. Nuair bhuach sin an tine gus at gaiine agus bórán, dar sé den leacht a bhí san naibh a bhí thar bheith contartach isteach go dtí lefa. Bhí is acu gur sé seach an tarlú ach níor is acu gur á úmar isce híos faoin stáisiú agus dá múl faoin leabh an tuisce bheith pléasc mar mílteachán. Bheith an chud is smúd an Job scrista do bhór na pléasca agus ní bheith aon den an cúnaí sa Ucrain, Belarus agus cuid den Rúis le hain na mílte bliain. Tháinig siad sús leis cinenne túair leachtarí a chur steach san úmar chun an tuisce dréine agus bhí sé seo an contartach agus deachar ach rinn siad é agus hábhail siad go leor daoine. Dúsad mé an leabhar Manual for Survival, a Chernobyl Guide to the Future, a scéimh an staidí Kate Brown mar ceann de mochad faointí. Thug an leabhar seo go leor ólastam. Tar éis an leabhar léamh, bhí sagam gur mé géir scéamh faoi leachtarí Chernobyl. Mar bhí ólas iontas sa leabhar nach rath tú nána áil éon áit eile. Fuair mé amach freisin faoi oibriú Olin i Tínamh i túisceart na Ucrain a bhar stadas mar leachtarí, tar éis dób an Olin a bhí ar na cuidas is Chris isteach a glána agus ní bhuair siad amach faoi é seo go dtí gur an mrá ag fáiltí. Chiail an stadas leachtarí gur cadach go éirí as níos núte agus dul go dtí an dochtar níos minic. Ach marall ar an dumuiste a rinne an táimachá sé timpeall ar an rádíocht for go leor acu bás agus bhí go leor feiban na sláinte acu. Ní léon éidir an do méid leachtarí bhí an, marall nach chur an taonnta Sóivéadach an cineál sin ólas ar áil don poblach. Gus ní bheith is agan éiríomh céiméid duine a fur bás a bhí ag obair mar leachtarí. Thug an gá lá a cha mé hir i gcána agus san ollscoil in Aileach go leor cúnadam chun an staidir taite i chiaachta agus an tólas crainn a chur le popper. Tar éis an cuasa an seala bhise a chiaachnú, bhí é sagam níos mú faoi obair an staidí agus an chuig bhfuil tú nám cinntiú go na fiadicéad agat, ceart agus na faointí ag dul leis. Tá sé tábhacht a frisin ghfuil is agat an difriocht idir faointí príomha agus faointí táiste. Marall, sa staidir taite tart láirt faoin na faointí dúsatstú. Muna bhfuil is agat an difriocht atrú, cin chaí meach tú an staidir taite is scéamh agus a bra ar na faointí sin. Tar éis an seala bhise bhí is agam an difriocht. Agus faoire báil an buchas a gláil le na moltarí a fog mo staidir taite faoi leachtarí Chernobyl. Tásúlam go bhain sib taine bheas agus ggólam sib rud éigean. No, is cinnte go bhólam si go leor. Gur míle mágaí.
My name is Adam Key from Scawen Community College, and the topic of my SEAL abstract is Boeing's aviation contribution to the United States during the Second World War, which took place between 1939 to 1945. I am here at the Cabin Leitrim Aviation Museum in Drummond, County Leitrim, beside the Purcell Provost, and I am surrounded by other aircraft which are replicas of the ones used by the Allies during the Second World War. The focus of my SEAL abstract was on one of these aircraft manufacturers known as Boeing, which provided a valuable contribution to the war effort of the United States during this period. Boeing, as an aircraft company, was founded in 1916 by American lumber industrialist William E. Boeing. At the time, it was not known how important Boeing would be for one of the world's deadliest conflicts. World War I has proven to the world how invaluable aviation could be in future conflicts. But the United States was facing an aviation dilemma by the 1930s. By 1939, the US Air Force had only around 1,200 planes. Many of these planes were old and in poor condition. Even worse, America just had no answer to the Messerschmitt Bf-109 and the Ju-87 Stuka bombers of Nazi Germany, or even the British Spitfires are Hurricanes. Although Boeing itself had begun producing its signature B-17 at this stage, it only had 23 of these by 1939. All was not lost for the US Air Force, however, and it is here in which you see the true contribution of Boeing and its fellow aircraft manufacturers. The National Defense Act of 1939 ordered the immediate production of 6,000 aircraft for the US Air Corps. Boeing took center stage in this production. Furthermore, its contribution only became more obvious after the US entered the war in December 1941 following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. During World War II, Boeing, along with other partners in the aviation industry such as Douglas and North American Aviation, worked together to produce a staggering 98,965 aircraft. These figures represented nearly 28% of America's total aircraft production. These measures spearheaded the advancements which would eventually cause the US Air Force to become the world's greatest by 1944. Boeing produced 60 B-17 bombers a month in 1942, and this had increased to 362 a month by 1944. Perhaps Boeing's most notable achievement during the war was the development of the B-29 Superfortress aircraft. These planes were the model responsible for the dropping of nuclear bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In conclusion to my chosen topic, Boeing's Superfortress contribution to the aviation industry during World War II is said to have ultimately helped America to victory. My abstract topic is very important to history, as it highlights Boeing's contribution to the American war efforts during World War II. It's fascinating to discover that the development of the B-29 especially was the gateway aircraft to the modern United States Air Force. It laid the groundwork for all future strategic aircraft in the US Air Force inventory. Boeing manufactured a total of 3,970 B-29s, and they were the first bomber planes to have a fully pressurized cabin. Did you know that the unit cost of B-29 today will cost us under €8 million? I am captivated by both aviation and history, and I hope to pursue a career in these fields one day. When I collaborated both these subjects and began my research, I realized just how interesting and exciting my findings were. This reinforces how passionate I am about my chosen abstract topic. Participation in the NUIG Break the Seal program has led me to research this topic that I have a huge interest in. The visit to the archives in the NUIG Hardiman Library has taught me how to find and interpret primary sources. I have now developed new research techniques and independent thinking skills which benefit me enormously when I have to do my research study project for my Leaving Cert. I have also gained experience in making this video and presenting to a public audience. I highly recommend all second level senior cycles history students that participate in this field should they get this opportunity. I'd like to thank a huge appreciation to Mr. Nyarenda, Dr. Flynn, Dr. Houlihan, and all involved in the organisation of the Break the Seal program for giving me the opportunity to participate in it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica McDonough and I am from Dunmore Community School, and my essay is called Trailblazing Thinkers. This essay looks at the views Irish travellers have on education and the stigma surrounding education amongst members of this community. Why should we fear education? What are the traditions that have kept traveller families out of education for so long? This essay discusses why it is better to embrace education rather than fear it, and the effect of having no education has on life. I decided to write about this to share the history of Irish travellers, because I feel that it is forgotten about in education. Our history makes us who we are. Why should it be forgotten about? Years ago, many travellers were tinsmiths, hence why today we are often called tinkers. Over time, this trade is fading away, along with some other traditions celebrated by this community. When this trade was thriving, there was no need for formal education because this provided travellers with the ability to survive. My essay shows why it was survival over education from my grandparents. Since writing this essay, history has been made again by Eileen Flynn, who became senator upon being nominated by Taoiseach Micheál Martin, and in doing so is now the first ever traveller to be a member of the Oireachtas. From seeing this, it is easier to recognise that the ways of this ethnic minority are slowly changing. There are many Irish travellers trying to challenge the cultural norms. Nan Joyce is one of them. Despite being a typical Irish traveller of her time, she became the first member of the traveller community to run for election in the history of the state. This lady has shown that where you come from does not dictate where you can go. And I believe the Irish people should be educated about how travellers live. If this is achieved, members of this community would finally feel that they are part of an inclusive society. This essay gave me an opportunity to share my history and to talk about how the tinsmith trade helped my grandparents survive, and also talk about the effect having no education had on their life. The research I did for this essay was easy to find. I used online newspaper articles so that the statistics were modern. I read books and picked out the most important pieces to use in my essay. I improved on my computer skills as well as my writing skills, and I hope to improve more on these in the future. I learned of my own grandmother's experience of a life without education and how she was affected. After hearing of her hardships, I never want to forget where I came from. I'm very proud of my culture. The most important thing I learned from my research was education should be embraced, but our history should never be forgotten. And thus, from research compiled, I have come to no better conclusion than education is power, a power everybody should embrace. I hope that my essay can play a part in letting education become more inclusive of ethnic minorities. This is my story, my culture, my family, and I certainly hope to embrace education in my future. Thank you.
The Disappearance of Lord Lucan by Maeve Mooney. Brief synopsis. Richard John Bingham, the 7th Earl of Lucan, born 18th of December 1934, commonly known as Lord Lucan, was a British man who disappeared after being suspected of murder. He developed a taste for gambling early on and became skilled at his trade, but unfortunately his losses frequently exceeded his winnings, yet he left his job at a London-based merchant bank and became a professional gambler. In 1963, he married Veronica Duncan, with whom he had 3 children. The marriage collapsed late in 1972 and he moved out of the family home to a property nearby. A bitter custody battle ensued when Lucan lost and began to spy on his wife and record their telephone conversations, apparently obsessed with regaining custody of the children. This fixation and his gambling losses had a dramatic effect on his life and personal finances. On the evening of November 7th, 1974, the children's nanny, Sandra Rivet, was bludgeoned to death in the basement of the Lucan family home. Lady Lucan was also attacked. She later identified Lucan as the perpetrator. As the police began their homicide investigation, Lucan telephoned his mother, asking her to collect the children, and then drove a borrowed Ford Corsair to a friend's house in Uckfield, East Sussex. Hours later, he left the property and disappeared. The car was found abandoned in New Haven, its interior stained with blood and its boot containing a piece of bandaged lead pipe similar to the one found at the crime scene. The police issued a warrant for Lucan's arrest a few days later, and the inquest into Rivet's death named him as her murderer. What makes this case so interesting? There has been continuing interest in Lucan's fate, and hundreds of alleged sightings have been reported in various countries around the world, none of which have been subsustained. Lucan has not been found, despite a police investigation and widespread press coverage. He was presumed dead in chambers on December 11th, 1992, and declared legally dead in October 1999. A death certificate was issued in 2016. There are an endless amount of theories regarding the disappearance of Lord Lucan. One of these is that he drowned himself after murdering the nanny by mistake. James Wilson, a close friend of the Earl and part of his circle of wealthy gamblers at the Claremont Club, shared his own version of events in 2015. In this account, what is widely thought, Lucan had planned to murder the estranged wife Veronica, but instead killed Rivet by mistake after failing to recognise her in the dark. According to Wilson, he filled his pockets with stones before jumping off the boat and drowning himself in New Haven Harbour, just hours after the killing. I believe that when he realised he had killed the nanny, the remorse and guilt and panic led to him to commit suicide, he said. Another theory is that he moved to Africa and lived a secret life there until the year 2000. In 2012, Shirley Roby stepped forward with her own story about what happened to Lucan. She claimed to have overheard conversations about his whereabouts after his disappearance between 2 of his friends, James Goldsmith and casino owner John Aspinall, her employer at the time. Robbie worked for Aspinall and she often heard him talk about Lucan, but didn't know the gory details of the case at the time. I knew he was hiding. I knew he was in Africa. I knew we were hushing it up. I knew he'd fallen out with his wife, and I knew it was a major case, but for whatever reason, I didn't appreciate that there had been a murder until some years later, she said. Why did I choose this case? I chose this case as my BTS topic because I was so intrigued by many elements of this case. For example, in my opinion, I feel like due to his wealth and class, John Bingham was able to escape along with the help of his wealthy counterparts, and I honestly don't think he would have been able to pull off the murder if he was of a lower social class. It frustrates me that people with money are able to get away with these awful things, which unfortunately is so prevalent in society today, for example, the Pizzagate scandal. I truly hope that one day Sandra Rivett's family get closure for her murder, whenever that may be.
The grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo, Brona Holmes, Mercy College, Sligo. Origins. On the 30th of April 1977, a small group of women gathered in Buenos Aires' Plaza de Mayo near the government palace. They carried posters and banners with faces and names. These women walked around the square demonstrating a peaceful protest. They've continued to do so every Thursday since 1977. Taking a stand against a military dictatorship government, they demanded answers as to the fate of their missing children. After a coup d'etat in Argentina, a new military dictatorship had grasped power and began a period of terrorism against the Argentinian people, known as the Dirty War. Any people even suspected of being associated with the leftist, socialist, or justice causes were simply disappeared. These women pursued the government for answers. At this stage, they had accepted that their children had most likely been killed, but many of these children had been pregnant. They began a new search as the grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo. They were hoping to locate and identify their lost grandchildren. After the end of Argentina's Dirty War, it came to light that these babies were given to families close to the military, sold on the black market, or even abandoned at orphanages. Consequences. I found the consequences of the grandmother's search to be quite bittersweet. Using new DNA technology to find their lost grandchildren, many of the grandmothers were finally able to be reunited with their grandchildren. For some of the other grandmothers, their search proved futile, as their grandchildren did not want to be reunited with them. They loved their adoptive parents and were willing to overlook or ignore the truth about their biological family and how their adoptive parents came to have them in their care. For these women, this is a terribly disappointing end to their decades-long search, as the grandchild that connected them to their disappeared child shunned them. I can't imagine how heartbreaking that must have been. However, from its beginning as a small protest in Buenos Aires, the grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo search sparked a worldwide movement of standing up against corrupt and unjust government, the pursuit of truth, and their white headscarves became a powerful symbol of bravery, courage, and the battle for justice. Relevance. I've always had a keen interest in the power, symbolism, and consequences of protests and demonstrations throughout history. I also have always had an interest in the tumultuous political history of South America, and I came across this topic while I was reading about the Dirty War in Argentina. My interest was further piqued after I watched various documentaries about the subject on YouTube. The grandmothers' history of protest, combined with their continued efforts and use of new technology using DNA to identify their lost grandchildren, intrigued me to learn more about their organisation. The organisation's importance to history is how it proves that even just a small number of individuals taking a stand can make a difference. For example, this organisation began as a small protest in Buenos Aires and grew to become a worldwide movement against corruption, abuse, and unjust governments. Research. While conducting research for my project, I came across various helpful and informative sources. A 1985 documentary, The Mothers of the Plaza de Mayo, provided relevant information and visual insight into Argentina in the 1980s. The organisation's website provided a detailed yet concise account of the history of the organisation. I encountered problems here, however, as the page is in Spanish and required me to use a translator. I know that translators are not always 100% accurate. This was a recurring issue for me, as I found that many of the newspaper articles and sources that I intended to use would require translating.
Rita Arditi's book, Searching for Life, The Grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo and the Disappeared Children of Argentina, was also a valuable source of information regarding this topic. Thank you.
Welcome to BTS, and that's a Breaking the Seal 2019-2020 finals. Actually, my name is Joseph Nyirenda, and I'm the coordinator of the program. One thing I want to point out is our finals were supposed to take place in April of this year, but due to the changes with the pandemic, things have been postponed, and now today is our final day. And I should say thank you very much to all the participating teachers, especially the students as well as the teachers, in putting so much effort getting the abstracts in and also getting presentations in. So we had about 50 abstracts that came in, and those are going to be put together, and we are going to be sending the copies to each and every school and student. So what I'm holding here is the medals. These are going to be sent to all the schools that have been participating in the program. So expect to get these medals anytime, maybe next week. So please do send me your addresses where I can send the medal. I don't know, some of you might want me to send them to your school address, or we can send them to your home address, whichever you choose. Send them over to my email address. All of you have my email address. So at the moment, I should say congratulations to the finalists, and I wish you all the best during these finals. And the judges are ready to do the judging, and I have to say a special thank you to them. Also, thank you should go to the Higher Education Authority through Path 3 for supporting the program, as well as the Access Center and NUI Gowe, who have been so great. Also, thanks should go to Dr. Pouflin, Dr. Barry Holihan, and Miss Emelda Byrne, who are all part of the team. And not forgetting the massive team that we have that includes Dr. Dorothy, now the name is in Irish, I can't pronounce it correctly, I'm sorry, Dorothy. Also Dono in Kana Library, as well as Philip White in St. Angela's College, and also all the DME students, Stephen, Derman, Luke O'Donnell, and Megan. Megan, oh goodness me, Megan, I've forgotten your second name. So all of them have been great in terms of the project. So anyway, everyone enjoy, and thank you very, very much.
Hi all, Luke O'Donnell here, former journalist, researcher, and these days history teacher. I'm delighted to have been involved, of course, in the Breaking the Seal project this year under fairly trying and taxing circumstances for you all, given the obvious. And it's a real shame that we can't be celebrating as a collective as we normally do this year, but that shouldn't and hasn't detracted from the efforts and enthusiasm that we've seen both in literary form and in the visual. So my hearty congratulations to all entrants, and certainly to those place getters and finalists as well. If you take anything away from this exercise, it is that you are now officially historians. You're researchers up there, elevated above the stock issue, standard issue history students, where you're no longer pouring through the textbook for your information, but you're digging and fossicking and delving around for your own. So you've effectively rewritten the textbook on your own niche elements, and that's it's a real feather in your cap at this age, certainly, and God willing, it continues later on from here on in, be it as academics or be it as recreational storytellers. And half the battle of a good story is in the content, and the other half is how you tell it, and you've all managed to do that with aplomb. So again, my hearty congratulations. Again, my heart.
It is, first of all, Most of all, that the final participate. People for those and your something that's again greatly remember
Thank you to all of the finalists. Thank you to Joseph for his overview of the program and for his tireless work during the year. Thank you to Stephen and Luke for your contribution to the final tonight as well. Only two of the judges, but there are more. Thank you, a massive thank you to Megan Cotter and to Donald as well, and Yakutov. We are excited that this year we had Irish language submissions, which is the first year that we've had official submissions in Irish language, which was fantastic. Thank you to Miss Imelda Byrne, who is the head of access at NUI Galway, for supporting Breaking the Seal and for championing this programme from the very start. Thank you to Professor Michelle Miller at NUI Galway for her support throughout the duration of the programme as well. It is hugely valuable. Thank you to Professor Jerry McGurk for supporting the programme from the School of Education NUI Galway and all the team at NUI Galway, the School of Education NUI Galway in particular, for supporting Breaking the Seal over the years. As has been acknowledged by the judges who have spoken and Joseph, there is a huge, massive thank you that needs to go out to participating schools. The school year is a challenging year. It is a somewhat rigid curriculum and a somewhat rigid examination process. And sometimes it can be difficult to find time to support students who want to pursue external avenues, even though they're linked to the everyday aspects of schooling. And what we see in Breaking the Seal is the willingness of second level teachers to step up and to really support students regardless of how aligned to the curriculum it is, and to help them pursue their dreams, to help them pursue what it is they want to do. And I think teachers who participate in Breaking the Seal exemplify that approach to engaging with young people and adolescents, that I think is absolutely fantastic. So congratulations to all the teachers, congratulations to all of the staff at the schools that support those teachers, and to the principals and deputy principals who make it possible for the on-site engagement that is part of Breaking the Seal programme. I want to thank the wider team at NUI Galway as well for promoting Breaking the Seal. It's very important that we are able to do the work that we do. And so a massive thank you to NUI Galway. I think a huge thank you needs to go to the wider New Story community as well. I think the support from our colleagues around Europe and the sharing of best practice is hugely valuable, particularly at annual network meetings where people who run programs like Breaking the Seal meet and exchange ideas. And this is all thanks to the Corporate Foundation and the Youth Story Programme, particularly Kathia Fauser and Inka Suits as well, who are very frequently in touch with us and are a huge wealth of knowledge on how to improve our programme year on year. Before we open the envelopes, we would like to remind finalists and winners, prize winners, that there are opportunities to participate in European-wide programs that the Youth Story as a network run. And we will provide you with more details on that. We will encourage you to apply to those programs over the next couple of years. But again, that's not for today. That's for your teachers. We'll give you the information and we'll follow up with more information around how to do that. You will have been made aware of that already. I think so. If I've forgotten anybody, I'm very, very sorry. I don't think that I have, but if I have, I apologize. So I think perhaps we might open some envelopes. I think perhaps we might open some of them and try and get to see who has won the Irish National History Competition 2020. So in third place, you can see that it hasn't been, the seal hasn't been broken. I'm going to open this. I have no idea who's in this, so it's going to be really interesting. I have my own suspicions. I've seen the entries, but I don't know who's done what. It's coming out. Oh, I think I've just put it away. So in third place is Jessica McDonough. So congratulations, Jessica. That's a very, really well done. Very, very hearty congratulations to you. Third place to Jessica McDonough in the Irish National History Competition 2020. And of course, all of the submissions were incredibly good. And what you see on the videos here is just a snapshot of the work that went into their submissions. It really is just a presentation. There were many hurdles to jump before they got to that point. And what we like to do is we like to engage with students as well. So congratulations, Jessica. So in second place, okay, so again, you can see the seal is on the envelope. I don't know who's in it. Who's going to get it? So in second place is, who's going to get second? Let me see. Do I want to give it away by? I'll try and hold it sideways so you can't see straight away. Sorry, Jessica, didn't mention that. In second place is Adam Key. Well, congratulations, Adam. I do know your video. It was remarkable. You were beside the airplanes on the video that you submitted. We just watched it as well. So congratulations. I very much enjoyed your video and a video submission on your project. Well done. Congratulations. Okay, so there is only one more envelope left. And before we announce it, as Joseph said, we normally would have a very a face-to-face, a very familiar presentation award ceremony, and we're not in a position to do that this year due to COVID-19. But what we are in a position to do is send out your awards, and hopefully next year we will be able to get together, and perhaps at the 2021 award ceremony we may have an opportunity to meet face-to-face for the finalists, and we would hope to invite you to that. So back to first place. So who will be the Irish National History Competition 2020 outright winner? It's in the envelope, and I'm sure that you want me to open it. I want to open it, but I suppose a little bit of suspense is no harm. So again, first it's been sealed in the back. I'm quite sure who's in it. Okay, so again, opening it sideways so we can't see. So the winner of the Irish National History Competition 2020 is Brona Holmes. Congratulations, Brona. Well done. Fantastic. Massive congratulations to you and your teachers and your family as well for supporting you in this. I think that nobody can do any of this without support, and family and friends and schools and history teachers around you, and Adam and Jessica and all of the other finalists deserve their massive thanks. So congratulations, Brona. I hope you celebrate this with your family and friends and your teacher as well. Obviously with social distance with some of that, but congratulations. So the 2020 winner of the Irish National History Competition is Brona Holmes. So that was actually quite exciting. So what I would like to do is perhaps close this ceremony, this unusual ceremony for us, this video recording, and say well done again to all of the finalists. Well done to all the teachers. Congratulations. Congratulations to the schools. Congratulations to your families in supporting you as well. And congratulations in particular to the students and how well you've represented yourselves, your family, your community, your school, your county, and hopefully your country, if you go forward to the Youstory projects. So we'll close the ceremony at that and say thank you very much, and thank you for watching, and thank you for participating. Encourage your colleagues to participate next year. From me, that's it.